According to the Philadelphia Inquirer and multiple NBA executives, the belief is that James Harden is indeed going to leave the Sixers and sign with the Houston Rockets in NBA free agency. We're going to break down that report on today's show, but before we get started, if you're looking for year-round, informative, entertaining, consistent Sixers coverage that fills your cup when it comes to this basketball team here entering the biggest offseason that I can remember in my lifetime, make sure you lock us in, subscribe to the show. 628 people away from 10,000 subscribers. Let's get there as soon as possible. And with that, let's start the show. This is Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. James Harden back to H-Town. It's going to happen, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer's Keith Pompey, who spoke with multiple NBA executives from all of these league meetings in Chicago where the NBA Scouting Combine is taking place. So let's set the foundation and get you caught up on everything transpiring around the beard. Now, we know that Daryl Morey said the other day from his end-of-the-season press conference, Plan A is to retain James Harden. Plan B, if he walks, we have to get creative. It looks as though the latter might be the path that the Sixers have to take. The belief among NBA executives is that Harden will go back to the team where he won that MVP and really turned his career around from being a sixth man to one of the best offensive players of this generation. Houston will be able to pay James Harden. They have about $60 million in cap space heading into this offseason. They hired Ime Udoka as coach, formerly of the Boston Celtics, and they have a lot of good young pieces on that roster. I think the timeline of this is somewhat interesting because they're not ready to win right now, but we don't know if James Harden is a winning basketball player, and he might care more so about getting the bag and heading back to Houston, where his mom still lives. He still has a home and has multiple family members there as well. Here's the skinny from Pompey of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Tilman Fertitta, the owner for the Rockets, loves the 76ers point guard. The franchise expects to reunite with him, sources say. And before hiring Ime Udoka on April 25th, head coaching candidates were asked for their opinion on coaching Harden during the interview process. Sources have said his interest, James Harden's that is, in returning to Houston is mutual and not a play to get a lucrative deal out of the Sixers. His mother still lives in the city. He has several business ventures there. And as one source said, quote, he is treated like a god in Houston. Now, what could a James Harden deal look like for Houston as well as the 76ers? Because Philly has James Harden's bird rights, he could actually make more money if he comes back to the city of brotherly love. It would be in the form of a 4-year, $210 million contract. With another team like Houston, he could make up to $201.7 million. But with those business ventures there, he probably thinks quality of life is a little bit better in Houston. He's treated like a god. And if he were to come back to the Sixers, he'd be in the pressure cooker. A lot of fans have soured on him with how games 5, 6, and 7 went against the Boston Celtics. He might think that it's a better situation there in Houston, even though he's probably not going to be able to chase that ring. But James Harden, he's been a ring chaser, hasn't been able to win a ring anyway, forces his way out of Houston, goes to Brooklyn, forces his way out of Brooklyn, goes to Philadelphia. That ring finger, still empty. Do you want James Harden back to the Sixers? Let me know down in the comment section. That is today's poll question. Type B for back, G for get gone, sayonara, we'll see ya. Let me know down below in the comment section. Now, a couple of more bases that we have to hit here. I've never been a big James Harden fan, but him leaving the Philadelphia 76ers and them living in this championship window doesn't come at an opportune time for this organization for a couple of reasons. If Harden leaves for the Houston Rockets, the Sixers get no value back for him, and the free agency crop heading into the 2023 NBA offseason is extremely thin. So with Joel Embiid coming off that MVP campaign at 29 years old, the big question becomes, who will be Joel Embiid's co-star? There are, of course, pros and cons to Harden coming back to the Sixers. He's an elite assist man. He led the NBA in dimes, nearly 11 per night. He runs the two-man game really effectively with Joel Embiid. What they did in Game 5 against Boston was beautiful, and that offensive display was unstoppable. He averaged 21 points per game, 44% from the field, nearly 39% from three. Those three-point numbers, some of the best of his career. He did by himself win Game 1 and Game 4 against Boston before disappearing in Games 5, 6, and 7. He's also a three-level scorer who can get buckets from anywhere. But with the pros, he has a lot of cons as well. He's 33 years old. How does he age on a max contract? He's not always in great shape, so that goes back to the first point there on the cons. How does he age when he's never really taken great care of his body and will on a whim fly out to Las Vegas to party before the playoff series? He's way too inconsistent, no championship pedigree, and he lacks accountability. And what's funny about that no championship pedigree and him always coming up short in big games, I went back to look at his 2009 NBA draft profile. The first couple of sentences, James Harden's season came to an end on a sour note with bad performances in the NCAA tournament. That is translated to him having multiple clunkers in big moments in his playoff career. Heading back to the free agency crop, you lose James Harden, who do you replace him with? And is Tyrese Maxey ready to take that next step? I'm not sure if he can be a bona fide number two. I like him. I think he's a really special player, but is he a number two on a championship level team? That's a lot of production that you have to replace. Kyrie Irving, somewhat intriguing, but he is so flaky and you never know when he's going to be available. Fred VanVleet would have liked him a couple of years ago. He was awesome in that 2019 championship run for the Toronto Raptors. He could barely hit a three-point shot last year, and his game is predicated on that. Chris Middleton missed a lot of time last year, played just north of 30 games, and his production went down, and he's aging. D'Angelo Russell, way too spotty. And Harrison Barnes, a good wing, but he's not the overall playmaker of a James Harden. Better two-way player because of his defensive ability, but offensively, it is not even close. So the Sixers heading into this offseason period, which is the most important offseason that this organization has had in a really long time, they have a lot of question marks if they lose Harden. I've never been a big Harden fan, but how do you replace what he brings to the table? And Joel Embiid might be unhappy if he doesn't have that co-star because he's never had a consistent co-star in Philadelphia thanks to the fraud Ben Simmons flaking out. James Harden in Houston. No surprise why he might want to go back to H-Town. This is where he became a very, very special player. From six-man with OKC to an MVP candidate and a guy who put on an extraordinary offensive display. 9 years, 29 points per game, nearly 8 assists, 6 rebounds, 44% from the floor. Harden in Philly, year and a half sample size in the regular season. He gets traded from the Nets to the Sixers in that deal for Ben Simmons, which the Sixers definitely did win outside of losing some of those first-round picks. 21 points per game, 40%, 32.5 from three-point range. Maybe that was due to that hamstring injury. This past year, though, came into camp in better shape. And I thought he had a pretty solid season. 21 points per game, 44%, nearly 39% from three. But then in the playoffs, once again, he's just so wildly inconsistent. You can't count on him. You never know what he's going to give you. And in Game 7, I thought he lacked that effort, which was disgusting. Who would you choose to replace James Harden? I went through a couple of the guards and wings that might be able to replace him. Drop me a name down in the comment section. And if you want to chop it up with me on Twitter and Instagram, I've been putting a lot of clips from the show on my social media pages, certainly growing those as well. I cover the NBA, NFL, college football here at Chat Sports. We could talk life, health, wellness, all that type of stuff. I'm into it all. Rap music, music in general. Chop it up with me at Chase_Senior. Catch you next time. Subscribe to the show.